listening to It's Getting Better, a podcast about mental health, hope, and overcoming challenges. While this podcast is not intended to replace medical advice or professional help, we hope that the stories and experiences shared by young people can help you on your journey of getting better. This is your host, Kate, and I am so thrilled that Nevyn is here on the podcast today. Nevyn is amazing, and I'm just going to let him introduce himself because he has some really unique experiences I'm really excited to talk more about. So I'm going to let Nevyn talk a little bit about why he's here on the podcast today.
Hello, my name is Nevyn Brown, and I am currently a junior at Olympus High School. Basically, what I'm here for is my mother, Joanne Brown, was diagnosed with breast cancer in both 2010 and 2017, right? Yeah. I would like to share some of my experiences with that. So basically, what it started with was I was, 6 years old, I think, in 2010. The thing is, back then, since I was 6 years old, I basically knew nothing about what was going on, and my mom was sick. That's all I knew. My mom was super sick. She was spending every other day in the hospital, and it was a little bit traumatic. We kind of got through that, and I still didn't really understand, but I kind of knew when she was okay again, and she fought through it, and we're okay. So then fast forward 7 years, I'm now in 6th grade, and it happens again. And let's just say I knew a lot more that time. So it was more traumatic for me, and I did not take that lightly at all. I was basically spending every other day in the counseling office just sobbing my eyes out, and it was scary. Eventually my mom just kind of came to me and was like, "You know what? We're going to get through this. We'll stick it out. We're going to be patient, and everything is going to be okay at the end of this." And that is basically what got both of us through that whole thing.
I mean, I can't wrap my mind around all of the emotions starting at 6 years old too. I can't even imagine trying to deal with that with someone that's so close to you, seeing everything that goes on with that person and all of the what ifs and all of that. That sounds really, really difficult. So your mom comes to you and says, "Hey, we're going to get through this." What did that actually look like?
My mom just saw me just being really just struggling with this so much, and she saw that I was in pain from watching her go through this, and she's just one of the bravest people I know, and she is very good at just keeping a good attitude through literally everything, even though in the worst of times. She's also a school teacher, so she just has a way of telling people things and having it actually make sense no matter what it is. It just went I've seen how you're not taking this lightly, and I just want you to know that I've done this before. I can do it again.
It sounds like a lot of it was just the recognition of, hey, you're in pain, you're hurting through this experience, and her really seeing that, and you guys kind of being in the same boat and being able to support each other through that is, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like that's a lot of what helped you both through that time. These experiences, how have they changed your relationship with your mom, first of all, and how have they changed the way that you perceive the world, your perspective on life?
Me and my family have always been really close. We always like to play games together and watch movies together and everything. And then this whole thing just took us from one level to another and bonded us even closer. And it's just amazing what such a traumatic experience can do to everything, and it just made us so much closer. And I feel like I can share so many more things with my mom now that I know that she's just brave and she's just that sort of person. It's let me know that I'm allowed to feel stuff outside of home, and I'm allowed to share my experiences like I'm doing right now, and that has made a huge impact on my whole life and how I perceive things.
I love that you said you realized how brave and strong your mom was, and hopefully looking back you can see how brave and strong you are too for going through those things and coming out a person with deeper relationships and with a bigger perspective. I think that's impressive, and it's hard to look back and see the positives, I guess, in a thing like that and how it changed you. It's hard to reflect on that. I think it's amazing that you can do that. So, you were a support to your mom through these times in a huge way, I can imagine. And it sounds like she supported you in a lot of ways too. How do you think all of us can be better supports to each other, whether or not we know like the hard things that people are going through? What does being supportive to someone else look like?
A big part of this is just letting people know that you're there and you're willing to talk to someone. And like if you're feeling down from something that happened, you can just reach out and talk to someone and say, "Hey, can I talk to you for a second? I need some outside support from here." And I think that by itself just makes a huge difference for both people. And uh letting someone know that you're here to support them, that makes them feel so much better on the inside.
I have a tendency to overlook like the simplicity of just going to someone and be like, "Hey, I'm here." Maybe I make it a little too complex. So, when you were going through this time, were you able to find people around you who were able to support you?
I think the biggest thing that I learned from this whole experience is how other people, how much they care about you. Because there were just so many things that people did. Like so many family friends came and brought us dinners every night. They knew that we were a super busy family, and it just made things worse when my mom was in the hospital. And it just meant a lot to us. And there were other things like my dad's cousins all volunteered to come and drive me and my sister home from school every day because they knew that my dad was at work and couldn't do it. And usually it was my mom who did it, but if she was in the hospital, that couldn't really happen, and that made a huge difference. Also, another part of this, there's this summer camp that I learned about in 2011. It's called Camp Kesem. It's basically a big organization that takes kids whose parents went through cancer, and they all banded together at summer camp. And that was a huge experience just to make people feel like they were supported. And that was a huge portion on how to make me feel like I was not alone in this. And there were just so many things like that that just made everyone so much happier. And like I said earlier, there's just a huge part in just saying, "Hey, I'm here. I'm here for you." And it's just amazing how experiences like this have brought that out in other people and shown that they actually care. And it's just nice to have someone ask, "Hey, how are you?" and have them legitimately care about your answer.
It's cool that you've been able to like see the best in so many people through the way they've treated you and helped you through these experiences. And I want to hear more about your summer camp. You said that, you were able to interact with other kids who were going through things that were similar to you. What did that mean to you, or how did it change your perspective to realize very concretely that you weren't alone?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you about the empowerment ceremony. The empowerment ceremony at Camp Kesem is basically where every single kid ages like 6 through 18, everyone would sit in a great big circle and everyone would just pass around a microphone and share their whole experience with how they felt from when their parent went through cancer. And that kind of just bonded us together. And I looked around and I saw all these people and I was like, "Hey, that's really not that much different from what I experienced." And that's amazing that I am not alone in this, because in sixth grade, I already wasn't going through a great time at school, and some of my friends were being a little bit jerky sometimes, and it already wasn't a great year for me. But just seeing that other people knew what I was going through and understood when I didn't think that there was anyone else, because in sixth grade, just I broke down because I didn't think anyone else really understood what this meant to me and how I was this close to my mom. And yeah, it's just a huge part of just, hey, that person actually understands. And even some people went through worse things than me. And so it also gives you a big sense of humility and makes you think, hey, things are really not that bad and we can get through this.
I can see why it's called the empowerment ceremony. It sounds like, I mean, for one, having the opportunity to share your experiences, but then to have that moment of realizing, like, hey, this is, I mean, it's cheesy, but like, we're all in this together. You don't have to carry that weight alone. That's got to feel really empowering. Looking back, how have these experiences changed you? What has it taught you?
I think that this whole experience has just taught me how to be mentally resilient. Actually, a big part of this that has changed me is I think I'm a much more happier person overall because of these things that my mom have taught, and my whole family actually has taught me about how you can just get through things if you have a good attitude. And there are certain things like you're doing homework and it's 11:45 at night and you're just super stressed and you have to get this assignment in before midnight. If you have a good attitude about it, I swear you will have probably more fun with it and you will get done with it easier than if you were angry and confused. And again, don't forget to reach out and ask for help if you need help with the assignment at 11:45 at night, and there will be people who will immediately go and help you with that.
What you were saying about mental resilience, and after having gone through an experience like that, there's got to be some amount of like, okay, I can get through anything. Like I've got people there to support me. I've got like the tools. I've got the perspective. I can get through anything.
I think my advice for people going through this, through like if is anyone is going through a similar experience or anything, I have some things that I would like to share. The first of which is just don't forget to reach out. Just don't be afraid to ask for help. And that's just a huge part of getting through anything. And I think that just makes a big difference when it comes to something is wrong and I don't think I can make it through this alone. And just remember you are not alone and you can get through this. And if you talk to other people about this, they will say the exact same thing. Just remember that no matter what happens, just remember that there are always going to be people that care about you and that are going to make sure that you're okay. The other thing that I would like to say is just don't give up. Now, I would like to share a quote from my favorite movie called The Martian. It basically is just there's going to be a point in time where everything is going to go south on you. Everything is just it's going to seem like everything is just going to complete opposite of where you want it to be. You're just going to think this is it. This is how I end. And either you can accept that or you can just start working. You do the equations and you get through it and eventually you get to go home. And that is what I think this is all about.